Yeah, we had seven ending scenes. We shot five. Yeah, there's seven. I have them all. Have them all. And have them all.
So are you able to say what any of those cut endings were?
Um, can't remember. I can't. Where's the scripts? I can read them to you. Here's one that people don't pick up on. Most of the time, when you see Reznov, he's dressed like Woods.
Is there anything to look in towards Hudson being a bad guy? Like, is that...
Absolutely.
Boy, oh boy, do I have a treat for you. In this video, I got to interview James C. Burns, who is the original voice actor for Frank Woods from Black Ops 1, Black Ops 2, and even Black Ops 4. He also wrote some of the scenes for Frank Woods as well, and we talk about all of that in this interview. It's a long one, but we go over some really big things. Jason Hudson potentially being evil and maybe even the mole in Black Ops 6, Victor Reznov, an alternate ending for him, and speaking of alternate endings, we actually talk about more endings for Black Ops 2. Originally, there were 7 of them written, and guess what? Frank Woods knows them all. And in fact, if you would like to see a separate video with those endings and potentially even Frank Woods, James C. Burns reading those endings to us, hit that like button. And by the way, this is edited down from the entire interview. If you want to see the entire interview, first of all, let's get this video to 2,000 likes. When this video gets to 2,000 likes, I will upload that over on my second channel so you can see the entire interview unedited. And then let's say if this video hits 7,000, we'll go 7,000 likes. I will start bugging James C. Burns to get you those unreleased endings. Will he be able to do it for sure? I don't know, but 7,000 likes and I am going to do my darndest to make that happen. But without further ado, there is a ton of information. It's a long one, but this is my full interview with James C. Burns, aka Frank Woods. So one thing you guys may not know is that before Frank Woods was Frank Woods, his name was originally Frank Barnes. So that is one of the first things that I started asking James C. Burns. When did that switch over? How long was the Frank Barnes thing? Was it like until it got greenlit, or like were they already like mocapping for the game and they were still going under Frank Barnes, or when did that change?
It was it was just for the green light. It was just for we did three. I think we did 3 levels as Barnes, and then everybody disappeared for about 3 months, and then I saw a casting notice for Sergeant Frank Woods.
Oh.
And it fucking described me to the T. You're 5'11", athletic, 190, East Coast accent. I go, really? So basically I had to audition for the role I created.
Frank auditioned for you?
Yeah, it's like, that's describing me in the breakdown. But actually I wasn't the first choice. They wanted.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they wanted a star in the role. They wanted something. They wanted a name in the role.
Well, they had in Black Ops 1, it was Gary Oldman was Reznov, right?
Oh yeah,
yeah. So
and
he killed it, of course.
Of course, and Sam Worthington and Ed Harris was Hudson. And
well, I think as far as like Black Ops goes, as far as acting performances, it was you and Gary Oldman were like the two that stole the show, because you were like the kind of spunky off the rails guy, and he was kind of like almost the plot twist, right?
Yeah. Well, that's very generous. I appreciate you saying that. Thank you.
So then the thing I wanted to ask is it true that the first scene you recorded was "You Can't Kill Me"?
Yeah.
That was the first one.
Yeah, what happened was that was a strange day, because again, that was the original director. And he did not want me. He did not like me, and I think he took it personal that they replaced his choice with me. And so it takes about, back in the dots, it took about maybe an hour to an hour and 30 minutes to get ready. And so you put your suit on, you get your markers put on. They got to grid your face, put the mark. It takes, so the setup. It's arduous and sometimes annoying because you got to be very still. And sometimes you get a script sometimes you get it the morning you walk in, and they handed us the new script. I'm trying to study it while I'm doing it. And then they start doing a couple other scenes. And so it's like, all right, they start shooting around 9, it gets 10, 11. And because of the markers on your lips, you can't eat because you mess up the markers and you swallow them. So, and I don't usually eat when I work anyways. So what happened was we get to lunch, they call lunch, I bypass lunch. And so give me some of this stuff and put it in the fridge. And I'll eat after I'm done. So I get past lunch. I'm hungry, but I like being hungry on set. And it's like 1 o'clock, and I haven't even talked to the director yet, right? And I'm just fucking angry. I'm I don't know what this is. I had just become an actor. I had done a couple years in General Hospital. I'd done Cold Case. I had done Burn Notice. I've been in, the Viagra. I had done some work. I worked with Michael Bay. I've worked with Werner Herzog. So I'm not a newbie. I'm new, but I'm not a rookie.
Yeah.
And I know when things are fucked up. I know when on set. I've been on good sets. I've been on bad sets. I go and I think, oh man, I made a fucking mistake here. This is like, these people have no idea what the fuck they're doing, right? And I'm watching some of the performances, and I'm like, what are these guys doing? This is like, it makes no sense to me. So I'm shitty, and I'm like, I have an attitude, and I'm like, and I know this guy doesn't like me. And I go, you know what? Fuck this. So we finally get to my scene, and I need to be working with some people across me. And you have all these, there's a bunch of guys out there, and by now they're burnt out going through the motions. And, I'm a pretty physical guy. And there's one guy who's really he has his little gun. He doesn't know how to hold the gun. I'm like, and so I walk in, and he said, we start the scene. I supposed to walk in, and they wanted me to go and kind of be, drag me to the chair and be like depleted and feeble. And I'm like, so you comes over to Greg, don't you fucking touch me. It wasn't in the script. Don't you fucking touch me. And then come on, and it's just like, and then they didn't know what to do. They're all like, and I go, yeah, come on, let's fucking do it. Because there's so much, anger and rage that this place was, I didn't understand what was going on. And I felt that the end, like, I disagreed with that. I'm not going to fucking be weak here. Fuck that. You're not going to drag me in, wimp. Now, fuck that. I'm going to, don't you fucking touch me. And then everything just blew up from there.
So you have a video on your YouTube channel, which is you on top of the actual gameplay, and it's showing the motion cap. Yeah. And I love the story you just told, but I don't think what you're saying sells how good it is. So do you mind if I play it in the chat and we watch it together?
Well, now that you know the story behind it,
yeah, it makes
most of the scene's improvised.
Mason, you with me?
So good already.
Don't you touch me! Woman?
Dead.
You made him pay.
You! No talk. Play!
What's the plan?
I see 4. 2 guns.
No talk! 2, 1 gun. You're the
energy level's so high.
Bang! You can't kill me!
Amazing.
You shoot, you shoot! This time, do it.
Play. Bang! Right behind you.
Ready.
Bang, bang!
Go! Clear!
You're rushing. Now!
Let's go.
Like, that is amazing to me. And how well that comes across between the two is beautiful.
Yeah, I mean I wish I could say I'm that good an actor. I was just pissed off about the whole environment. So you just kind of let it rip in the moment.
Well, it worked. I don't know if they were trying to piss you off on purpose, but it worked because I think.
Oh no, he left. After that day, the director left because I was just being so disobedient. Yeah.
Well, if you came into that and you were slouched over or being held, that's not Frank Woods, right? Like that's not what you see in any other.
It could be. It's just not my woods.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, you could have anything. This guy wanted a different kind of woods, and I don't. It just wasn't right for me.
But I think that that's like, it might be the most iconic scene in a Call of Duty game. I don't know, like that'd be an argument to make, but it's one of them. It's absolutely one of them. So so then you finish up Black Ops 1, and then how soon after that did they ask you to come back for Black Ops 2? Was it like an immediate thing, or?
As immediate as was humanly possible. And so you go, look, here's the deal. We really want to bring Woods back. We have to figure out, how he lived, how he survived. And the idea is this: he's going to be an old man. How do you feel about that? And I tell this story a lot, so I'll tell it again. And so I got a couple glasses of wine to me, and I said, all right, well, I thought about it. And then we meet again in January. He says, well, what do you think? I said, okay, here's how we solved Woods being alive. I go, because during that time, I just started watching YouTube, and there was this YouTube about maybe a Chinese soldier or a Korean soldier trying to learn how to throw a grenade, and they had like a sump around it. So this kid reaches up and he just drops the grenade, and his instructor takes the grenade and pushes it off into the, you know what a sump is? It's a hole.
Yeah.
It's a deep hole, and he pushes the hole and drags, and that's how he saved himself. He put the grenade into the hole, and they went down the other side. So I go, oh my God, that's how. Then I started watching the game a little bit and playing it, and I realized, oh, that's a loading dock below that office where he goes out the window. And I turned the game on, and I started studying. And wait a minute, that could happen. He comes up, if the grenade goes that way, he would survive it easily. He could survive that fall, maybe. And so that's what happened. I said, here, somehow, he's got that knife in Kurchenkov. He rips off, he takes the blade, he rips off the bandolier with grenades, throws them to the side, and he crash lands. And the impact knocks him out, and that's how he got captured. So it all filled in together. And then he gave me the story. He goes, okay, here's the vault. There's Old Man Woods. He's probably in his 80s or 90s. What do you think of that?
You come up with this way of bringing back Woods, right?
Yeah.
And what I found interesting about that is that you bring him back, and essentially he's captured. And that's when you have like the whole cutscene of, I wasn't going to die in that fucking swamp.
Yeah.
Which is an awesome cutscene. But then right away at the beginning of Black Ops 2, Woods is captured again. But it's a different time being captured.
Yeah.
Right? Which I see why they do that, because you have to have that hatred for Raul Menendez to have the grenade throwing scene and all of that. But I think it confused a lot of people, because like, okay, we thought he died. He's back. He's still captured, but it's a different capturing, right?
That's where it gets challenging, because when you go back and watch Black Ops 2, and we explain to some how, okay, there's a whole thing where Woods talks about, when we both came to, well, he came to before I do. That means boom, Hanoi, Hilton, and of my group 17, my group of 17, I was the only one who survived.
Yeah,
I wasn't gonna die in a fucking swamp. We never explained how he gets captured again.
Nope. It was one of the things I've made, I think, 1 or 2 videos on it, and I tried. And last time we talked, you're like, who are these other guys, right? And all I can really figure out is he was in Angola with Savimbe, or however you say his name, and he was doing something with that, got captured by Menendez, and then Mason obviously comes in after that. The other thing that they don't answer is why Mason retired. Like we assume it's because to be with David, right? Like his son. That
would be a good assumption, yeah.
So then you have the one scene in. Okay, let me not get to that. So have you heard what they're doing with the story of Black Ops 2 now?
Yeah.
So half of it is canon and half of it isn't, essentially.
Yeah.
So, what are your thoughts on that?
On the split canon,
So it's the first half where you're not in a wheelchair is canon. And then, okay, before you answer that, the end of that game, they made it so that there was two endings. Number one, you shoot Mason in the leg.
yes.
Number two, you shoot him in the head. He's dead.
Yeah.
They've essentially, unless they change something when Black Ops 6 comes out, have said the real one is you shoot him in the head.
Okay.
And did they ever say anything to you about what they thought the canon ending was while you were recording it? Did you even know that there was multiple endings? Like, how did that work?
Yeah, we had 7 ending scenes. We shot 5. Yeah, there's 7. I have them all. I have them all.
No way.
Yeah, I have them all. I kept all my stuff. Yeah, because I wrote a lot of this stuff. So a lot of it's in my writing files. I wrote all the dialogue in Black Ops 2 for Woods. You know, except for most of the battle chat, but all those scenes were I crafted that, and you know, because you know we were working on a few premises, and that and the language and the Woods manners, Woods stuff, it's really based on my vernacular and in my research. So why fuck with that, right? But we had many long conversations over bottles of wine, Dave and I, about the direction of the story, especially when we started working on Black Ops 4. We got brought in late to that party, and we wanted to somehow fix all the holes, like what happened, why was in that container, you know, let's bring that in. What happened to Mason, and where the fuck you been for 30 years? Now here's the thing, I purposely, when I called Dave, I said we gotta leave some trapdoors everywhere we go. So every time you write something, we try to put in a movement or put in a line or something that you could go back to and say, oh, remember this moment when he looked away, when he looked at something? That's a portal to a new universe. So I used to build in little moments that we can, okay, here he just kind of take a moment, look down, and you see something. And if you look through it again, you see Woods in the wheelchair have a lot of moments like that where he kind of reflects and comes back out of it. Those are all portals to explaining things. And then
I see. So like leaving room for a flashback, for example.
Exactly. Or just like when Woods is on the horse, right? And in the desert, there's a couple of moments where you see him look over, he'll spot something on the hill and come back to the scene. All those are portals into other type of information. If you wanna, there could be somebody on the hill that he recognizes, and that will give you a chance to make a story there. Okay. So the effort was to really, especially in the acting, was to build in portals, build in little movements that are organic to the scene, but would allow you to create sort of a channel to an exposition in there someplace. There's a lot of them. If you scrutinize Black Ops 2, there's so many opportunities to go different, because we had to, because Dave really wanted to have multiple storylines. The engine wasn't big enough to do it. Probably could do it now, but like we had 7, we shot 5, they took 3. I have one ending with Julian Sands before he passed. And then, so there's he played Falco, right? So the canon itself is really up for grabs because most of the creative team that was there is gone. The only guy left, I think, is probably Craig Houston, and he's over on the Zombies team now.
Yeah.
So all the story will be different because I don't think there's any of the original Bible left. I think they just moved. I mean, the Treyarch is a whole different company. I don't know anybody up there now. The canon aspect, that's not reality. There is no canon. There's so many different stories. So when David Goyer, he had an idea. So, and even when I talked to Dave about Black Ops 2, he goes, man, there's so many holes in this game. It's a great game, but we'll talk about the holes in the game. Like, you know, when you look at it, how the fuck was Woods still alive? He was born in 1939. He should be dead by now, you know, or at least, you know, So there's all these leaps of faith you have to take.
So are you able to say what any of those cut endings were?
I can't remember. I can't. Where's the scripts? I can read them to you.
Oh yeah.
I have to dig it out.
Yeah, we could do
I
that
better
another
check-
time.
I better check on that. I better make sure I don't get in trouble doing that.
That would be awesome. People would love that. So,
Yeah. I have every word I've ever written for Black Ops 2 and Black Ops 4. I have a scene in Black Ops 4 that I wanted to use as a device to explain a lot of this stuff. It was called Sarge's Grill. And I wrote it up for Dave. And it was, so basically it's a grill. Sarge has a bar, a tiki bar on a beach. And every now and then a character would like skydive in or come up on a speedboat or something. And they would sit there and like actors backstage in the green room, they'd have a drink and they would talk, hey, Kurt Chip, you got me, they're all buddies. You know? And so they all it was funny as hell. This, Reznov getting drunk, holding court, talking to, politics.
Well, it would work with like the archetypes thing, right? As a way to kind of fill in those holes. You could have these characters who are reborn, retell those stories. Well, I said
as an Easter egg, you get to go to Sarge's Grill. Wouldn't that have been amazing?
Well, it would have been a really because that's what kind of Black Ops 4 ended up being, was just like these patchy bits of story all put together, because they didn't end up having a campaign for it. But like, I found a lot of those patchy things that they had were actually really, really interesting. And like, I can give you an easy example. That last cutscene that's in there where it's Woods and Mason.
Yeah.
And he says, it was always you in the box, man. It was always you in the box.
Thanks. Angola. Sorry, kid. No. It's you in the box. It's always been you. Don't black out, man. I'm on it.
You can take that scene, and if you really want, you can flip the story of Black Ops and be like, hold up, was Mason in that shipping container and this brainwash?
Okay, that was it. That was our Dave, I wrote that. Dave and I sat down. What's the scene we can have here that can tie this together? So we kind of banked some ideas on. Let's just make, so it was that everything was coming from Mason's mind. The whole Black Ops experience was all part of his imagination. And Woods was just trying to deprogram his best friend using the same techniques that had been used to program him. And so again, there's a lot of holes in that, but that scene was to allow us to tie back and explain everything. Mason, it's you. It's always been you in the box. Always you. It's in your head. And there's that one little audio scene where I'm trying to program him. Hey,
There's so many ideas from that scene that, like, so for those of you watching this in the video, this doesn't work anymore because they've retconned it essentially. So they've basically said, okay, it is Frank Woods in the wheelchair. He's been shot in the knees now, which I'll ask your opinion on that in a second. And on top of that, like this is the things that happen. Like Alex Mason's dead, for example.
right.
So that's that. But in that scene, that one in Black Ops 4, if you take that, you could say that, okay, it was Frank Woods that got shot in the head instead of Alex Mason. And then Alex Mason's in a wheelchair in that cutscene, which would have been shot in the knees like Frank Woods did, right? Like there's a complete reversal of roles that could have been done through that cutscene, which I thought was really interesting.
Yeah. Again, it is one. Now I said to you about portals before, creating little windows where you can enter and create a story to explain a situation, and that's kind of what that was one big portal to lead into another universe. So it opens up a lot of possibilities. That it could even change the entire Black Ops narrative. Like this is a story about Woods is something else. His character is doing something else. They're still special ops guys, but they're still SOG. But Mason, he's helping Mason out. How did Mason get into the situation in the first place? That opens up that avenue. So it just gave you the opportunity to go in a lot of different directions. When you have something in somebody's mind, then you can go you can do anything you want with it.
Well, and like you said, it was a super interesting thing that you said about leaving in, I don't want to say plot holes, but like leaving in little holes where things can be filled in. So I found one of these like the other day. Someone left a comment talking about when Mason's in Vorkuta prison, and he becomes a sleeper agent because he's brainwashed by Dragovich and Kravchenko and all of that stuff.
Yes.
Well, the only way it works for him to be a sleeper agent is if he's out of jail, which would mean Dragovich and Kravchenko wanted him out of jail to begin with.
There you go.
So there is a giant hole there. So, but what you see is Reznov breaking him out of jail. So was Reznov in his head the entire time? That was actually planted by Dragovich and Kravchenko to help him get out, and he was never actually in the prison at all? Or was Reznov there and working with Dragovich? Or was it just a setup and it made it look like there's many options there, but those are all holes that were never answered. Like there's no answer for those.
Here's one that people don't pick up on. Most of the time when you see Reznov, he's dressed like Woods.
Okay.
Same green t-shirts, same BDUs. So especially in the tunnels, he's dressed like Woods.
Yeah.
And then, and there's a lot of stuff in there that is, some is accidental, but a lot's deliberate as well.
Yeah, because like then based off of what we just talked about, you could say, okay, the similarity in how they dress, are they both in his head? And then that plays into that Black Ops 4 ending if you really want to go there as well.
There's also a scene in Black Ops 4 where Woods and Reznov have a conversation.
Yeah, it's on the recording, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't remember that one offhand. I'd have to go listen to it. But yeah, so I wanted to ask so then you were in Black Ops 1, Black Ops 2, Black Ops 4, and then Cold War happened, and Woods is a minor character in that one. And obviously, did they never ask you to come back for that?
We had not had a conversation about it at all. They had approached me to do something, and I wasn't, the fine print was kind of odd in the contract. So we asked for some revisements, and that was it. And that they gave me a ridiculously almost like an insulting offer for it. I go, guys, come on. So that was the last time we spoke, and yeah, I haven't. They've called me a couple times about certain things, but we really have not had any conversations about moving forward with.
I do have one more thing I want to ask you before I end. Yeah. And it has to do with the story that was already made and the story moving forward. So the one thing, if you look at all of the Black Ops games, is Frank Woods doesn't like Jason Hudson, right? Like whenever he comes, like they have an interaction, there's this animosity between that one another. And then with the story of Black Ops 2 and now going into Black Ops 6, they have this mole within the CIA.
Okay.
And like that's supposed to be one of the big plot points of Black Ops 6, and that the mole is what got Alex Mason killed in Black Ops 2. And that's why Menendez had David Mason and all of this stuff. Is there anything to look in towards Hudson being a bad guy? Like, is that...
Absolutely.
I made a video on it already.
Absolutely.
Because it was like, after I made that video, I went and played the two older games, like Black Ops 1 and 2. I streamed them. And every single time Woods goes and talks to Hudson, he doesn't want to be with Hudson. Like you can...
Well, you have to remember the very first scene where he meets Hudson.
And that's in Vietnam, correct?
Yeah. Woods, look at hammer shit. Some kind of scene. Jason Hudson. CIA. Right.
Yeah.
So that scene there, I mean, again, because this is why I have so much gratitude to Treyarch and Dave and everybody, is that since they had no script, it was all piecemeal. It's like you get a scene and you shoot the scene. There was no script I ever got to see what the story was. I decided to create my own story. So a lot of stuff you see in here is from I generated a backstory that I used because there was no backstory. There's a little bit, they gave me a little bit of a profile, like a one paragraph, but details. And in my world that I talked extensively with Dave about driving things forward for Black Ops 2 is that I knew Hudson when I was working in Korea. You know,
so that's a story that, okay, I didn't even get to that. That's a story that's never been told because in his backstory, he was in the Korean War and played a big part.
So, but the thing is, I knew Hudson. Hudson didn't know me. Yeah, that's the thing. I was in a unit that we were doing some covert operations, and he was in there dealing with the Chinese for some. Because man, it's the Cold War. It's all this stuff is about economics and stuff. And so he was cutting it, in my mind, what I saw, he was cutting a deal with the Chinese to share some resources down, because all the SOG members went through training in a place called School of the Americas down in Panama. And the Chinese had started entering into Panama for national research even back then. So in my backstory, Hudson was doing a deal with the Chinese while I was at School of the Americas, and I saw him do a couple things that were, why are you talking to that guy? That guy, we know that guy's an operative for that. So that's the backstory that I generated for why he doesn't like Hudson.
To have the animosity, and then because
like I know he's bad.
Yeah. And then in my video that I made on it, I did the, not prediction, but at the end when Raul Menendez kills Hudson, he gives him the option and says it's either Woods or Hudson who's dying. And Hudson has kids, Woods doesn't, and Hudson goes, kill me. So I said, okay, is that guilt over what he's done to Alex Mason and what's gone on there? Or like, what was the reasoning behind that? Because that never lined up one-to-one with me. And then, I don't know, there's more to that, and I don't know if they'll touch it because according to their canon, Hudson's dead. So I don't know if that's something that we'll find out.
I think they wrote themselves into a corner. How do you keep Woods alive in the situation? So I think they wrote themselves into a corner, and that's one of the things that we talked about in terms of the game, because it takes the games. They have a deadline. If you haven't solved certain things like that, just live with it. Right, that whole story, like, that never made sense, and there's never ever a reference to Hudson having kids, ever. And when would he have time for a family? He's always.
I think in that scene there is a scene. No, it's the first scene in Black Ops 2 when they go to Alaska. Why I know this, I don't know, but they go to Alaska. Hudson lands, and they tell Alex that David can go stay with Jenny and the kids. So I think that was the only reference that I could think of.
Woods, I can't. I have 2 kids. Faith. Fuck. Okay, me! Do it! Do it!
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. Like, why? Although it could serve the maliciousness of Menendez, like, it could serve like,
you work with me, it doesn't mean you're safe.
Yeah,
right.
And it also like, oh, you got kids, good, I'll make them suffer too. So I think it also could reflect the idea that suffer with me, with making David suffer. So the idea is making everybody's family suffer because he lost it. So I can make the leap of logic saying that the reason it's there is because he's just malicious, and like, okay, you got kids? Good. If I kill Woods, nobody cares. If I kill you, your kids will suffer, and I want your kids to suffer. I want all you people to suffer. I want your families to suffer. I want you to know that. So it's like, but why would Hudson offer himself up?
Because that's what ends up happening, right? Is he goes, me, do it to me, or however he says it.
The only way logically I could think for Hudson to want to do that is because with Woods, you always expect him to figure it out. Like, okay, as long as he's alive, you got a chance to come. So as long as he's alive, Hudson thinks that Menendez is going after his kids after this. So if Woods is still alive, there's a chance that, you know, when Woods is alive, there's always a chance he's gonna prevail. You know, even with, you know, that was a really important thing that I had to establish in Black Ops 2 with, even like when we're doing the scene where he blows his knees off, because when they were doing it, they were actually using a stunt guy to be the guy on the floor. And he wasn't putting up a fight. I go, fuck no. Woods would fight, you know, he's gonna, you know,
grabs the gun,
take his own leg and beat him with it. You know, that's like, you want that ferocity.
Yeah.
So that was, and that's why I said, hey, let me do it, Wick. I want to make sure that, because they don't want me to, you know, do stunts to hurt myself. I go, let me fucking do it, because here's how he's gonna fight back. So that tenacity was to inform, hey, that no matter what, if you don't put two in the crane on this guy, he'll find a way to fight back. And so that may be motivation for Hudson to say, you know, kill me, Woods, you know, take care of my kids, kind of thing.
Yeah, and like that's like the Uncle Woods, Uncle Frank kind of thing. I think that's something they'll do moving forward. Yeah, so thank you for coming on and talking to me. I really appreciate it.
Like I say, you ask the most intelligent questions, and these conversations last forever, and they're great because it's just an easy conversation, and you really, I mean, you have just a mastery of the Call of Duty landscape. You're a master at it. I mean, you can teach a class in this shit. I'm surprised you're not doing a Call of Duty seminar at a college someplace. You'd be a great professor.
I love the story writing behind it, right? Like it's like, and then like the different branches and everything. And I know for without a doubt, people on my channel would love if you were allowed to show us or talk to us about those alternate endings and stuff like that. So if you're watching this and want to see that, hit the like button on it, and we can see what we can do about that, because that would be fun for me too.
Yeah, and I don't want to get you banned from the channel either by putting this stuff up there.
No, it's I mean, it's people understand, like there's bloopers, right? Like just because something was written doesn't mean it's canon, right? It's interesting, right? Like removed content, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I'll look into it. Let me see. There's a few things like that we have in the vault, so to speak.
That's awesome. Well, again, thank you very much. I appreciate it, and we'll do this again for sure.
All right, buddy. Good to see you, man.
Good to see you too.
We are reaching for the stars.